Hello and welcome to Dog Day Chess. In this episode we're going to look at overworked pieces. An overworked piece is a piece that has too many jobs to do and it can't do all of them effectively. And often if your opponent has an overworked piece you can take advantage of the situation. So here's a very simple example. In this example, Black's pawn has two jobs to do. It has to protect this rook and this knight. But this pawn is overworked because with White to move, White can capture the rook, and if the pawn captures back, it leaves the defense of the knight, and now the bishop can win the knight. And from this position, White can easily go ahead and win the game. So this is a very basic example, but let's have a look at this in some real games. Here's a game that we'll pick up at move 16, and it's quite remarkable that not one piece has been captured yet after 15 moves. So the board is still very crowded, but here my queen is overworked because she's protecting this bishop and this pawn, and both of those pieces are currently under attack. So what happens here is the knight captures the bishop, and when my queen captures back, she leaves the defense of the pawn, leaves the pawn en prise, and then the pawn falls. Here's another game where the white queen is overworked, but in this case the white queen is my opponent's queen. The white queen has two jobs. She's protecting the d3 pawn, and she's protecting this mating square, the f2 mating square, because my queen can just slide to f2 and under the protection of the bishop can checkmate. And so the white queen needs to stay here to protect that square. So because the white queen is overworked, my rook can capture that pawn for free. And if the white queen were to capture back the rook, then I would checkmate. And here's one more example. In this position, my black rooks are controlling the e-file. And the white rooks, along with the knight, are controlling the back rank quite well. However, white moves his knight over to the h-file, attacking my queen. But in doing so, he relinquishes control over e1. So this move actually overloads the f1 rook. And the reason for that is because now the f1 rook has two jobs to do. It has to protect the b1 rook, and it has to stay on f1 to block any deadly checks that my two rooks can give on the king on the back rank. And this allows me to safely capture the rook with my queen. If the rook were to capture back, then the mate would be forced. So these were a few examples of overworked pieces. As always, I hope you learned something from this episode, and thanks for watching.